The outer edge of the Vorkian Empire was always quiet. Their border stations floated in cold space like lonely metal islands. Nothing strange ever happened there. But on this day, something entered their scanners that none of them could understand. It was small, slow, and silent. At first, the alien crew thought it was a damaged cargo ship. The signal was weak and old, like technology from a forgotten age. Still, it moved forward with steady speed, as if it had a place to reach and time did not matter to it. The crew in the observation room watched the strange object more closely. The ship had no identification marks, no broadcast code, and no diplomatic tags. For the Vorkians, this was unusual. Every ship in their galaxy had some kind of ID. This one had nothing. One officer leaned close over the scanners. He frowned. Something about the ship made him uncomfortable. Its design was strange, not like any known species. It looked old, yet perfectly built. Damaged, yet powerful. Silent, yet confident. The commander entered the room and asked for a report. His officers explained the situation. He looked at the ship's path and felt a chill in his chest. It was coming directly toward them. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just coming. Like it did not care that it was entering one of the strongest empires in the galaxy. The commander ordered a small patrol fleet to intercept it. The crew on the station watched the live feed as 6 Vorkian warships moved toward the unknown vessel. When the warships reached interception range, they broadcast a warning. The unknown ship did not respond. They sent a second warning. Still no answer. The patrol leader laughed over the comms, calling the ship a useless old machine. The others on the channel laughed too. They were confident. They were armed. They were part of the Vorkian Empire, a power feared by many. They formed a ring around the strange ship and prepared to tow it in for inspection. But then something happened that silenced every voice. The unknown ship powered up a single system. Not shields. Not engines. It powered up only its forward cannon. The energy reading hit the scanners like a thunderstrike. The patrol ships froze. Their sensors screamed warnings. The energy building inside that cannon was impossible. No ship of that size should hold such power. One officer at the border station's control panel felt his hands shake. He whispered that the reading must be wrong. But the numbers stayed the same. The unknown ship kept charging its weapon. The commander on the station demanded the patrol fleet to retreat, but it was too late. The unknown ship sent its first transmission. The audio crackled through every speaker. The voice was calm, deep, and carried an accent no one recognized. The message was short. Only 2 words. Every alien present felt their skin tighten when they heard it. Humanity returns. Before anyone could react, the cannon fired a single shot. There was no bright explosion, no colorful blast. The beam was silent, almost invisible, but it cut through space like a knife. 4 Vorkian warships vanished in an instant, their metal turning to dust before they could even send distress signals. The remaining 2 ships panicked and tried to escape. One of them caught the edge of the blast and broke apart seconds later. Only 1 ship survived, running at full speed, sending frantic messages back to the station. Inside the border station, chaos broke out. Officers shouted reports. Screens flashed red warnings. The commander stared at the destroyed fleet in disbelief. How could a small, old-looking ship defeat half a patrol group with 1 shot? How could the impossible happen? The unknown ship did not chase the survivor. It did not accelerate. It simply continued forward, moving at the same calm speed as before. The cannon powered down, and the ship went silent again. The commander ordered the main empire to be alerted. Emergency lights flashed. Alarms rang throughout the station. Every mind inside that metal station wondered the same thing. What kind of species could build a ship like that? What kind of race could enter enemy space alone and act without fear? One officer searched through their database, trying to identify the strange design. After a few moments, he froze. His eyes widened. He had found something. Old records. Very old. Older than the Vorkian Empire itself. A forgotten list of extinct species. Among them was one name. Humans. A race that once lived in the galaxy long ago. A race that fought a great war and disappeared. The officer whispered the name like a ghost story coming back to life. Humans. When the commander heard it, his heartbeat slowed. He stared at the screen showing the lone warship drifting forward. Humanity was supposed to be a myth, a story told by explorers, a warning from ancient times. And now, one of their warships was here, moving deeper into their territory. The commander ordered every ship in the sector to prepare. But inside his heart, he knew something dangerous. If this was truly a human warship, then one thing was certain: a single ship was never a mistake. Humans never sent just one unless they were sure of something. And that thought scared him more than the cannon blast. The alien fleet scrambled to respond, but panic slowed their movements. Orders were shouted over comms, weapons powered up, and shields flickered to life, yet none of it seemed enough. The single human warship moved with an eerie calm, as if it already knew every move the aliens would make. The Vorkians had faced many enemies, but never one like this. The quiet confidence of the ship unsettled them more than any battle cry could. The surviving patrol ship tried to escape. Its engines flared, leaving a streak of light behind it, but the human warship did not chase. Instead, it pivoted slightly, adjusting its course with precise, minimal movements. Then, without warning, a second shot fired. It wasn't aimed at the fleeing vessel. Instead, it struck a nearby asteroid cluster. The massive rocks vaporized instantly, leaving the aliens stunned. The raw power of the weapon, the precision of its aim, and the patience of its movements spoke volumes. This was no ordinary ship. Back at the alien station, communications were flooded with incoming reports. Sensors failed to predict the ship's next move. Every attempt to scan or hack its systems resulted in static errors, or worse, the temporary shutdown of the alien sensors themselves. The crew of the observation station realized that this warship carried technology far beyond their comprehension. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a fortress, a shield, and a scout all in one. And it moved like a single living being, aware of every threat and calculating its responses with terrifying speed. The aliens gathered their council in haste. Ancient holograms of extinct species flickered in the room as they discussed the anomaly. Scholars whispered of old human legends, stories that had been dismissed for centuries. Tales of humans who had once controlled whole star systems, who had fought wars that reshaped galaxies. And yet, the legends had ended with the mysterious disappearance of their race. Some said humans had been wiped out. Others believed they had simply vanished. Now, those whispers became screams of fear as the council realized these were no longer myths. Humans were back. The council dispatched a fleet of elite warships, the largest ever assembled at the edge of the Empire. Their mission was clear: destroy or capture the unknown ship before it could reach populated systems. The fleet moved in perfect formation, weapons glowing, shields humming, and energy pulses slicing through space. Yet, even with such overwhelming power, the human warship was already one step ahead. It danced between the Vorkian ships with impossible agility, avoiding energy nets and mining fields laid to trap it. It fired bursts of energy, not to attack but to disable sensors and communication arrays, leaving the alien fleet blind and frustrated. One young officer aboard the observation station had an uneasy thought. "It's learning," he whispered to his companion. The companion scoffed, but even he could see the truth. Every maneuver, every response by the human ship seemed deliberate, almost sentient. It was as if the ship itself was thinking, anticipating, and choosing the perfect moment to act. The Vorkians, who prided themselves on strategy and planning, suddenly felt small and vulnerable. Then came the message. A single, clear broadcast that cut through every frequency. No one expected it. All sensors scrambled to capture the signal. The human voice was calm, composed, yet carried a weight of authority. Its words were simple, but the meaning shook every alien present. "You do not yet understand." The fleet paused, unsure how to respond. Fear spread among the ranks. The human warship did not advance. It did not retreat. It simply hovered, a lone predator in a sea of confused prey. The Vorkian commanders realized something terrifying. This was no ordinary mission. The ship was not merely a weapon, it was a message. And the message was unmistakable. The humans who once ruled the stars were not gone. They were watching. They were back. And whatever had brought this single ship here was far worse than anything the Vorkians had ever imagined. As the alien council scrambled for a plan, one thing became clear. The galaxy they thought they knew was no longer theirs alone. The calm, silent warship had arrived, and it had already changed everything. The Vorkians faced a choice: fight the impossible, or watch as the first sign of humanity's return reshaped their universe forever. The warship's engines hummed softly, a quiet reminder of power waiting to strike, as it drifted deeper into enemy space, alone but unstoppable. The Alien Council's chambers buzzed with tension. Scholars, generals, and strategists debated the meaning of the human ship's arrival. Some insisted it was a scout. Others feared it was a prelude to war. Yet, none could deny the evidence. The human warship had destroyed part of their fleet with almost no effort, avoided traps with precision, and now hovered silently at the edge of their space. It was not acting recklessly. It was deliberate, patient, and calculated. In a hidden archive deep within the council chambers, an elderly historian searched through ancient records. Dust-covered hollow files flickered to life, showing images of humans from centuries ago. Humans were said to have been strong, intelligent, and fearless. They had fought countless wars across multiple galaxies, building machines and weapons that could rival the most advanced alien empires. And then, suddenly, they disappeared. Some believed a war with a powerful enemy had wiped them out. Others said they left voluntarily, vanishing into the unknown to survive. The historian's hands trembled as he realized the possibility. This lone ship might be one of the last remnants of a species the galaxy had thought extinct. Meanwhile, the human warship continued its slow but purposeful advance. The aliens tried to scan it again, to understand its structure or find weak points. Every attempt failed. The ship's shields adapted almost instantly, its energy signature shifting, as if it were alive. The alien officers whispered among themselves, fear creeping into their voices. What kind of race could build a vessel that could not be understood, that could fight and evade simultaneously, and remain calm under fire? Back on the observation station, the commander watched as the alien fleet tried to organize a coordinated attack. Hundreds of ships moved in formation, hoping sheer numbers could overwhelm the human vessel. But every trap failed. Mines detonated harmlessly in empty space. Energy nets dissolved before they could reach the target. The human ship moved like a predator in a well-ordered forest, avoiding every obstacle with ease. The aliens began to understand that brute force alone would not work. Strategy, numbers, and power meant nothing if the enemy could anticipate every move. At the same time, alien researchers discovered the first sign that this human ship carried a purpose beyond combat. It emitted pulses of strange energy into their networks, small bursts of data that scrambled communications, maps, and even AI calculations. The fleet could no longer coordinate. Confusion spread quickly. Panic followed. One officer shouted that the humans were hacking their systems, but no one could see any physical weapon causing it. It was all digital, precise, and invisible. The historian returned to the council with a warning. The ancient texts described humans not just as warriors but as careful planners. One ship, sent alone, meant one thing. The humans were testing, observing, and assessing before revealing their true strength. Every move of the ship was deliberate. Every pause had meaning. And the council realized something chilling. The humans had not returned for diplomacy or trade. They had returned for a reason that was not yet clear. In space, the human ship approached a major asteroid field, a natural barrier the aliens thought could slow or trap it. But the ship moved with ease, gliding between rocks and dust clouds, its weapons poised and ready but silent. The alien fleet followed, frustrated and growing desperate. The calm, silent movements of the human vessel unnerved them more than any attack could. It was patient. It waited. It calculated. It knew what it could do and chose exactly when to act. As the alien fleet struggled to keep up, a single transmission came from the human ship. This time, it was not words, but a wave of energy that seemed almost like a heartbeat, resonating through alien sensors. The fleet's instruments went wild, reporting anomalies that could not exist. One officer screamed that the ship was alive. Another tried to argue it was just advanced technology, but even he could not deny the strange rhythm pulsing through the readings. The commander stared at the ship and muttered quietly, more to himself than anyone else. Humans, they were never gone. And they are not what we imagined. The warship drifted forward, calm, silent, but powerful. It had already destroyed part of the fleet, disrupted their technology, and unsettled their minds. And it had not even shown its true strength. As the Vorkians scrambled to plan, the human ship continued its advance deeper into their space. Every alien present understood one terrible truth. The galaxy they had controlled, the power they had relied on, and the stories of extinct species they had dismissed as myth were all about to be challenged. Humanity had returned, and with one ship alone, it had already changed everything. The alien fleet regrouped as reports from the front lines poured in. Confusion and fear had spread through every ship. Their sensors were unreliable, their communications scrambled, and their confidence shaken. The human warship did not attack relentlessly. Instead, it moved unpredictably, sometimes drifting closer, sometimes pulling back, always keeping the aliens guessing. Every maneuver seemed deliberate, as if the ship itself understood the tactics of every enemy vessel in the sector. The Vorkian commanders tried to organize a trap. They chose a narrow corridor between two star systems, hoping to corner the ship with mines, patrols, and energy barriers. Hundreds of warships moved into position, forming a near-impenetrable wall. 4 hours, they waited, watching the empty void for a hint of the enemy's next move. But the human ship did not follow predictable paths. It slipped through gaps the aliens hadn't noticed, passing between barriers with impossible precision. It sent pulses of energy ahead, disabling their minds and sensors before they could even detect it. On the observation station, young officers whispered that the ship was dancing. The commander frowned. Dancing was not a word he would have used to describe war, yet it fit. The human vessel moved with elegance and purpose, avoiding danger without panic or hesitation. Its calm confidence unnerved the seasoned officers. One of them muttered, "It knows we are trying to trap it, and it doesn't care." The human warship fired again, not at the fleet, but at the edges of the asteroid fields, the gas clouds, and even abandoned stations. Its attacks were precise but calculated, disabling key systems without causing unnecessary destruction. Every alien ship that tried to approach was met with the same unyielding calm. The human vessel never overextended, never rushed, and never panicked. It forced the Vorkians to react constantly, to make mistakes, and to expend energy in ways that benefited the lone ship. Meanwhile, the alien council grew desperate. Scholars and historians continued to search the archives, hoping for any clue that could help them understand the humans. One of them discovered ancient records of a first human fleet, a collection of ships that had once traversed the galaxy, feared and respected for their unmatched strategy and firepower. Those ships had been said to operate as a single unit, guided by the intelligence and coordination of humans themselves. The historian's words were grim. If this lone warship was anything like the First Fleet, the Vorkians had only begun to see the scale of what they faced. The aliens tried every tactic. Stealth ships attempted to ambush it. Long-range weapons fired volleys of energy. Decoy fleets tried to draw it into traps. Nothing worked. Every action was anticipated, every move countered, and every attempt to scan the ship failed. The human vessel seemed almost alive, aware of the danger but unafraid. Its calm, silent approach terrified the alien officers more than any battle could. Then came another shock. The human ship sent bursts of data directly into the alien networks. Their AI systems went offline, communications failed, and some fleets reported brief power disruptions. It was not just a physical threat, it was a digital predator, invisible and unstoppable. Alien commanders realized that brute force and numbers were meaningless against an enemy that could control space, technology, and information with ease. As the human warship moved through the sector, one young officer aboard the observation station voiced what no one dared say aloud: "It's teaching us a lesson." The commander's eyes narrowed. Teaching? Could a single ship be that intelligent? Could it understand strategy well enough to manipulate the Vorkians like pieces on a board? He realized, with growing dread, that the humans had not returned merely to fight. They had returned to show what they were capable of. The warship approached the outer edges of the Vorkian system. Its presence alone was enough to stop entire fleets in their tracks. The aliens felt a rare sensation: helplessness. For centuries, they had believed themselves unstoppable, but now they understood the truth. Humanity, though thought extinct, had left behind a legacy of intelligence, patience, and power. A single warship had already undone their best-laid plans. And as the human vessel drifted forward, silent but vigilant, one message echoed across the alien networks, barely understood by their machines. A warning. Not of attack, but of observation. Humanity had returned, not to beg, not to negotiate, but to remind the galaxy that they had once ruled it and could do so again if necessary. The human warship finally reached the outskirts of a major Vorkian colony. Unlike the previous encounters, it did not fire or move aggressively. Instead, it hovered silently in orbit, its presence alone creating tension among the alien population. Sensors detected unusual energy patterns emanating from the ship, pulses that seemed almost like signals, but no alien could understand them. The fleet had followed cautiously, still wary of the unknown power the ship carried. Then, the ship broadcast a message. Unlike the previous transmissions, this one was in a language that the aliens could not decipher. The words were strange, with sounds and tones that none of their translators recognized. Every translator failed to make sense of it. The aliens panicked, unsure whether it was a threat, a demand, or something else entirely. Confusion rippled through the colonies as the warship remained silent, giving nothing away. One old researcher aboard the observation station had studied ancient human languages. He listened carefully, trying to make sense of the sounds. His eyes widened as he recognized fragments of words, phrases buried in the histories of a species long thought extinct. The message was not a threat. It was a warning. His voice trembled as he whispered to the commander, "It's not here to fight. It's here to warn us." The researcher explained that the message described a danger beyond anything the Vorkians had encountered. Something powerful, something enormous, was approaching from the outer reaches of the galaxy. The humans had seen it before, long ago, and fled to survive. The warship was the first sign that this danger was returning, and it had brought a warning with it. The commander struggled to process this information. For centuries, the Vorkians had believed themselves the dominant force in their space. Their fleets were unmatched, their technology advanced, and their empires strong. Yet here was a single ship, one human vessel, showing them that their strength meant nothing if they ignored the danger approaching. Fear replaced confidence as the scale of the threat became clear. Meanwhile, the human warship remained still, its systems active but silent. It did not attack or retreat. It seemed almost alive, watching the alien fleet and the colony below. The humans who once ruled the galaxy had returned not for conquest, but to warn. And that realization unsettled the aliens more than any battle. The colony leaders convened in panic. Plans were made, fleets mobilized, but all seemed inadequate. The warship's presence alone had changed the dynamics of power. Every action taken by the Vorkians seemed slow, ineffective, and inadequate in comparison to the calm, calculated movement of the single human vessel. The Council realized that their entire understanding of the galaxy was incomplete. They had ignored the humans' legacy, dismissed it as myth, and now they were faced with its undeniable reality. The human warship's message repeated, not in words this time, but as a subtle, resonant pulse that spread through sensors and communications. Its meaning was clear. Prepare yourselves. The humans had faced the approaching danger before, and their warning carried a weight that demanded attention. The aliens had a choice: listen and prepare, or ignore it and risk annihilation. As the warship lingered in orbit, a sense of uneasy alliance began to form in the minds of the alien commanders. They realized that, for the first time, they were not just dealing with an enemy or a myth. Humanity had returned with knowledge, experience, and power far beyond their comprehension. And if the approaching threat was as dangerous as the human warship implied, then survival depended on understanding and heeding this warning. The Vorkians finally understood the gravity of the situation. The human warship was not here to attack them, nor to conquer. It had a purpose far beyond anything they had expected. Its calm presence, its precise movements, and the warning it had sent all pointed to one truth. Something massive and dangerous was approaching, and the humans had faced it before. Scanners picked up a colossal energy signature far beyond the outer edges of the Vorkian space. It dwarfed entire fleets, pulsed with raw destructive force, and moved with intent. Every officer who saw the readings felt a chill run through them. The approaching entity was unlike any weapon, ship, or fleet the Vorkians had ever encountered. Their own fleet seemed tiny, fragile, and powerless in comparison. The human warship moved deliberately toward the threat, creating a defensive barrier around key colonies and fleets. Energy fields pulsed outward, stabilizing damaged systems, shielding civilian worlds, and even disrupting incoming attacks from alien drones that had arrived with the approaching danger. The humans were buying time, preparing the Vorkians for what was to come. Their strategy was clear: survive, warn, and protect. The alien commanders gathered in urgency, realizing that for the first time, they were not in control. They had feared humans as legends, but now they were witnessing why humans were once so feared and respected. A single ship, acting alone, was capable of redirecting the course of an empire, not through aggression, but through calculated foresight and intelligence. Communications from the human warship grew clearer, and though most of the alien fleet could not understand the language, the intention was unmistakable. It was a call for cooperation. The humans had seen the approaching threat, understood its power, and were willing to help the Vorkians survive. But there was no time for diplomacy. The massive entity would reach their space soon, and every moment counted. In space, the enemy's arrival was unlike anything the Vorkians had predicted. Massive tendrils of energy tore through the void, scattering smaller ships like toys. Its size was unimaginable, and its intent unmistakable: destruction. The human warship faced it calmly, deploying energy shields, decoys, and tactical maneuvers that allowed parts of the Vorkian fleet and civilian colonies to remain safe. Every move the humans made was precise, deliberate, and incredibly effective. Alien soldiers, for the first time, felt what it meant to be vulnerable. They realized that their weapons, their strategies, and their numbers meant little against the approaching force. Only cooperation, preparation, and guidance from the humans could give them a chance. The historians, the commanders, and the fleet officers understood that the humans had not returned to dominate. They had returned to teach survival. The human warship sacrificed energy, risking its own systems, to stabilize critical points in the colony's defenses. It communicated one last simple message, translated as best as the Vorkians could manage: prepare yourselves. If we fall, you fall next. The weight of the statement settled heavily on every mind. Humanity had returned not to destroy, not to rule, but to confront a threat that none of the Vorkians could handle alone. As the massive enemy drew closer, the Vorkians formed a tentative alliance with the lone human ship. Fleet commanders coordinated with the humans, following instructions they barely understood. And at the heart of it all, the warship remained calm, poised, and unyielding. It was a sentinel, a guide, and the first sign that humans were more than the legends had described. The massive enemy loomed closer, its energy rippling through space like a storm. Entire fleets trembled as the colossal force approached, scattering smaller ships and tearing apart stations with ease. The Vorkians had never seen anything like it. Their weapons seemed to bounce off invisible shields, and their strategies were useless. Panic swept through the ranks, but at the center of it all, the human warship remained calm, steady, and unafraid. The Vorkians followed its lead, coordinating as best they could with the guidance of the lone ship. The human strategy was clear, even if the aliens could not fully understand it. Shields were deployed in precise patterns, weak points covered, and energy bursts timed to disrupt the approaching enemy's momentum. The human warship moved like a master conductor, orchestrating a symphony of defense that gave hope to the terrified alien fleets. As the enemy reached striking distance, the human ship fired first, not recklessly, but with perfect precision. Its weapons hit critical points, creating openings and forcing the colossal force to slow, its momentum faltering under the calculated attacks. Alien commanders watched in awe as the ship demonstrated skill and power beyond anything they had imagined. One officer whispered, "This is why they were feared, and why they are legendary." The battle raged across space. Explosions lit the darkness, energy waves tore through debris, and alarms rang on every alien vessel. But the human warship remained the center of calm. It shielded fleeing colonies, directed the alien fleets, and struck at weak points in the massive enemy's form. It was no longer a single ship fighting alone. It had become a symbol, a rallying point, and a beacon of hope. In the midst of chaos, the Vorkians realized something profound. Humanity had returned not for conquest, not for power, but to protect, to teach, and to survive. The warship was more than a machine. It was the embodiment of human ingenuity, courage, and strategy. For the first time, the aliens understood the truth behind the legends. Humans had once ruled the stars not just with weapons, but with intelligence and willpower. The colossal enemy faltered under the combined strategy, its energy attacks disrupted, its movement slowed, and its destructive force countered. The human warship, though alone in design, had turned the tide. It had proven that a single, determined, intelligent force could change the course of a battle, even against overwhelming odds. As the enemy retreated, The Vorkians and humans held their positions. Exhausted, battered, but alive. The humans had delivered a clear message. The galaxy was not theirs alone, and threats could arise that required strength, intelligence, and unity to survive. The aliens looked at the warship with a mix of fear and respect, understanding that humanity was not gone, and when present, they were unstoppable. The final image of Part 7 leaves the viewer with awe. The lone human warship hovering in space, shields glowing, engines humming, as fleets of aliens follow cautiously. In the distance, the remnants of the massive enemy vanish into the void. Humanity had returned, not just as survivors, but as a force capable of teaching the galaxy that legends were real, power was more than numbers, and the universe had changed forever.